Okay. Good morning. I will be taking you through a full body movement sequence this morning. So you can get started on your back. Okay, and it'd be helpful if you had two blocks and a blanket. You can do this on a yoga mat on a wood floor, or maybe if you're on a carpet, you could just have some paper plates. We are going to be doing a little bit of blanket sliding. So if you get started on your back, you'll take one block and place it the middle wide way, right in between your inner thighs, and you can just relax your arms down by your sides and start out by taking 5 or 6 breaths here. So you can inhale, fill up your belly and your rib cage, and then exhale, gently squeeze your block and push your feet into your mat. Okay, and then start to press into the big toe mound, little toe mound, and heel of your feet, and start to lift your hips up one vertebrae at a time. Okay, your arms can go up and thumbs can tap the floor behind you, and then you're going to roll your spine down one vertebrae at a time and draw your arms down by your sides. So on your way up, you press into the feet, lift the hips one vertebrae at a time, and the arms follow. On the way down, see if you can sweep your arms forward first, and then the spine follows one vertebrae at a time. Okay. And as you start to move and warm up, just kind of notice which parts of your spine feel fused together, which parts you feel like you can differentiate. Okay. Just starting out trying to connect the mind and the body. And the next time that your hips are up, let's pause. The palms will be right over the shoulders. See if you can take 5 breaths. Tilt the chin down towards the sternum a bit so the back of your neck is nice and long. And then start to squeeze your block. Okay. You can also drag your heels back towards your butt a bit. And that'll create a little bit of extra work on the glutes and the backs of the legs and the hamstrings. And then you're going to lower your hips, pick up both feet, bring your knees over your hips to 90 degrees. Let's relax the ankles and relax the wrists. Take a couple of breaths. And then you'll bring your hands down by your sides, spread through the palms, push them into the floor. Let's flex the ankles now, and then imagine that you're on like a little leg press machine. You'll inhale, press the feet away from you. Exhale, draw your knees in towards your chest. Okay. So see if you can use your core here to coordinate this movement. You want to try to keep your low back nice and flat to your mat. Good. And then we'll slide the arms out to a T, straighten the legs up towards the ceiling, and then start to sway side to side. Try to keep both shoulder blades flat on your mat. And then pause in the center, and we'll do 4 slow ankle circles in each direction. Try to only move your ankle joint here. Try not to move the knee or the hip. Good, and then you can float your feet down to your mat. Take your block out. Place it by your side. Okay, and then you're going to spread through your palms. They're down by your sides. Okay, lift your hips up only about 1 inch this time. Okay, try to keep your hips in a posterior tilt here. So kind of tilt your belly button towards your sternum, and you'll reach your left leg straight up towards the ceiling. And then your right arm will go straight up towards the ceiling. Okay? So on your inhale, arm and leg move away from each other. Exhale, arm and leg come back to center. You can float your right hand down by your side, draw your left knee in towards your chest, and then we'll do some single leg bridges. So on your inhale, you'll drop your hips. On your exhale, you'll lift your hips. Okay? We're not too worried about how high you're lifting, right? We want to maintain control throughout the movement and see if you can synchronize your breath with your movement. So 1 breath per movement, inhaling down, exhaling the hips up. And then you'll lower both hips down, draw your knees in towards your chest, and gently rock the low back side to side. And both feet come back down to your mat, palms are down by your sides. Your right knee comes in towards your chest, press through your left foot, lift your hips up just about an inch. Straighten your right leg up towards the ceiling, reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. Inhale, arm and leg move away from each other. Exhale, come back to center. Good. Then you can bring your right or your left hand down by your side, and we're going to lift and lower the hips here. So inhale, hips drop. Exhale, lift the hips. Good. And then lower your hips. Draw both knees in towards your chest. Take one palm on each shin. See if you can draw some individual hip circles here. So one leg goes clockwise, one leg goes counterclockwise. Just kind of sense your low back and your hips this morning, and then reverse it. Good. And then you're going to bring both feet down, bring both hands down by your sides, okay? You're going to flex your ankles and then lift your hips up just 1 inch. So these are walking bridges, okay? You're going to start to, with control, walk your heels away from your sits bones, trying to keep your pelvis lifted off the ground, okay? You don't want to go all the way to straightening the legs, but just before. And then with control, you walk your heels back in, okay? I'm trying to minimize how much shifting there is in the pelvis side to side. Okay, try not to slam the heels down. Just try to move with fluidity and control here. See if you can do a total of 4. Awesome, and then just drop your hips down, take your feet mat width apart, bring your fingertips together above your chest, and then you're gonna go side to side. So the knees go an inch to the left, the arms go an inch to the right, and then you reverse it. So it's a little bit of opposition. And then pick a side and you'll roll over and we'll come to a tabletop. Okay. So in your tabletop, you'll want your palms directly underneath your shoulders, your knees directly underneath your hips. Okay. And we'll start out with some rock backs. So let's do toes untucked, tops of the feet are down. Okay. You'll send your hips back towards 6 o'clock and then rock forward towards 12 o'clock. Just starting to warm up the ankles, knees, hips, shoulders a bit. This is a good time to check in and really see how your joints are feeling. And then you can reverse your foot position, do a couple of rock backs with the toes tucked. Good. And then you'll come forward to your tabletop. Lift your knees 1 inch so you're in a knee hover. And then try not to let your rib cage sink towards the floor, right? Try to press through your palms, get your rib cage up towards the ceiling, and then you'll do the same movement. So hips go back towards the heels, press off the balls of the feet, come right back to your tabletop. See if you can do about 6 of these. Really start to build a little bit of heat. Get the quads going. Just check in, make sure you're breathing, 1 breath per movement. I think that was 6. And then you can drop your knees down, untuck your toes, walk your hands forward, come onto your finger pads, and then send your hips back to your child's pose. Tuck your chin towards your chest. Let's take 3 breaths here. You can really push your finger pads into your mat. Let the belly be soft. And then you can start to roll your spine up 1 vertebrae at a time. You kind of roll up like a wave. And we'll do some thoracic spine rotation. So walk your hands back just a little bit, like 1 inch or 2, and then you can send your hips like 1/4 of the way back to your heels. You'll take your left hand to your heart and then rotate your rib cage to the left and then rotate your rib cage right back to center. See if you can do that 4 times. Try not to move from the hips, right? We're trying to just isolate the rib cage here. And on your 4th one, you'll pause, straighten your left arm up, take 4 breaths. And you'll float your left hand down to your mat, and we'll go right to the other side. So your right hand comes to your heart, you'll rotate right, and then back to center. And you might notice you have some differences in your sides. Sometimes it tends to be easier to rotate to one side, or one side feels more restricted. It's kind of helpful to take note. Good information. Good, and you'll bring the right hand down, and now you'll tuck your toes. Let your rib cage move towards the ceiling, right? Lift the knees, send your hips back towards your heels, and then start to reach your hips back and up towards your down dog, okay? So let's walk out the dog here, right? Pedal your feet, check in, take a couple of breaths here. And then see if you can intentionally inhale, fill up your belly and your rib cage. And then exhale as you rock forward to kind of an awkward short high plank. And then inhale, you send your hips right back to your down dog, okay? So we're gonna kind of take this into a moving meditation. Inhaling to down dog, exhaling to plank. You can keep your stance short like this, or you could walk your hands forward and make it a little bit longer. Okay, see what feels right to you. Good. The next time you rock forward to your plank, let's drop the left knee down so it's directly underneath the hip, and then press the ball of your right foot into your mat. Take your left arm out to a T, and then sweep it all the way forward alongside your ear. And we'll take 4 breaths. And then you can lift your right foot 1 inch off your mat, and you're going to connect your elbow and your knee towards each other and then reach them away from each other. Okay, so don't worry if they don't touch, right? The idea here is to just move with control and intention. Great. And then bring your left hand down to your mat. Connect the ball of your right foot to your mat, and you're going to lift your left leg up. So you're in this kind of dangling high plank here. And then you're going to let your knee cross your midline and then slightly open to the side. We'll do 4 or 5. Good. And then you can drop your knee down. Okay. Draw that right knee in and then walk your hands in. You're in your tall kneeling position. And then see if you can grab one of your yoga blocks. So you're in your tall kneeling. Okay. You're going to reach your block up towards the ceiling. Try not to grip it, but just press your palms along the sides. Okay. And then you want to see if you can kind of tuck your tailbone and drop your ribs. So instead of being like this, right, you want to tuck the tail, drop the ribs. You want to be in a stacked position here. Okay, and you'll side bend over to your right. Shift your hips to the left a bit. And then you can use those side waist muscles to pull you up. Side bend over to your left. Shift your hips right. And you'll come through center. See if you can lift your chest up and arc your upper back, reach your block back. Maybe it passes the ears. Try to open the front body. And then you'll reach your block forward. You'll tuck your back toes. Okay, see if you can send your hips back towards your heels and reach your block forward, and then draw your block in towards your chest. Okay, so we're kind of working on some hip hinging here. Okay. See if you can do 4 like this with the toes tucked. And then you'll untuck the toes, okay, and do 4 like this. So you kind of notice when you're breathing, as long as you are breathing, but you're going to inhale in one position and exhale in another position. Good. And then you can lose your block for a second. Take your arms out to a T, make fists, okay? And again, see if you can tuck your tail, drop your ribs, tilt your chin down so you're shortening your front body a bit. And then you're going to start to hinge back at your knee joint. Okay, you don't have to go back super far, okay, to feel quite a bit of work here. And then you just rise right back up, okay? So see if you can do 5 or 6 of these. You really meet yourself where you are. Maybe you only go back an inch, or maybe you go back 6 inches. Okay, see what works for you today. And then you're going to float your hands back down to your tabletop. Your back toes are tucked under. Okay, you lift your knees, send your hips back towards your heels, gain as much length on your spine as you can, and then start to reach your hips up and back towards your down dog. Good. Then we'll play a little bit with lifting the hands up here. So see if you can lift your right palm, right? Try to minimize any shifting in your hips. And then drop it down and lift your left palm. And see if you can go back and forth a couple of times. Good, and then you'll rock forward to your high plank, and this time you can drop your right knee down. Okay, take your right arm out to a T, and then sweep it forward. Take a couple of breaths. Keep pressing your hand into your mat so that your rib cage is moving away from your mat. And then 4 times you'll connect elbow and knee under your midline. The right hand comes down. The ball of your left foot pushes into your mat and you lift your right leg up, okay? And then you're dangling this knee, and the knee is crossing the midline and then opening up to the side. So notice, try not to have your head sinking towards the floor. Try to keep it right in line with your spine. Your gaze is right in between those thumbs. Good. And then you'll drop the knee down, draw your left leg in, okay? And then one more time, you'll walk your hands in, come to your tall kneeling, okay? And let's step your right leg out to the side and just set up your block. So it's right next to your left knee, and you'll kind of decide which height you have your block on. I'll start it on this height, but maybe I'll change it. So check in, make sure your right big toe is in line with your left knee. You'll relax your right arm down the leg, reach the left arm up, and then side bend towards your right. Okay, and then you can reverse it, plant your hand down on your block, and side bend to your left. Okay, so try to use your side waist here and not momentum. See if you can flow a couple of times back and forth, really breathing into your side ribs here. Okay. The next time your hand comes down to your block, you'll pause, extend your right arm up, okay, so the arms are stacked in a line here, okay? With control, see if you can lift your right leg up to hip height and then tap the foot down. Good. The foot comes down, okay? And then try to use your side waist, come up, okay? And then tap the fingers to your block. Okay, if that's too easy, then you can slide your block out of the way and go all the way to the floor. Good. Awesome. Okay, and then you're gonna heel toe this right leg in front of you, so you're in a 90-90 lunge. You could always bring your blanket underneath your knee. I might do that just to show you, but it's a good idea. Okay, and then this movement is a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more reactive, so you can have a little fun with it. So you can take your arms out to a T, and you'll play with lifting this right leg up, and just kind of let your body do what it needs to maintain your balance. So balance is a movement, not a stillness. So let yourself kind of flail around if you need to. Another option here is you could just stay on your tiptoe of that right foot if this just felt a little bit too challenging for you. Awesome. And then you can drop that foot down, okay? You're gonna sweep it back underneath your knee, and you'll step your left leg out. You'll switch sides with your block. Left leg comes out. Okay, left arm relaxes down the leg, right arm reaches up. Use side bend to your left. Really breathe into your right side ribs, and then reverse it. Okay, so see if you can get a little rhythm or a little flow going for yourself here. Next time your right hand comes down, you'll pause. You'll want to try to stack your arms in a line, okay? And then with control, you're lifting and lowering this left leg, okay? You don't need to lift it all the way to your hip. You could just lift it an inch, right? Or maybe you just engage the leg and it barely lifts at all. Okay, so a couple of options here. And then using your side waist, you're gonna come up, okay? You can just bring that right hand and tap the block, or you can slide it out of the way and reach for the floor. Okay? Either way, you wanna be using your side waist muscles and not momentum here to lift and lower. Awesome. And then you're gonna heel toe your left foot so that you're in your 90-90 lunge. Maybe you bring your blanket underneath your knee. Okay, and then again, we'll do this kind of balancing pose. You're gonna take the arms out to a T and play with lifting your left leg up. Okay, so it doesn't need to be perfect. There's no such thing. Just take a few seconds, maybe take a couple of tries. Try to balance here. Awesome. And then let's sweep that leg back. Okay, let's come back into a down dog shape. So I like to come into it this way. Right, palms are under shoulders, knees are under hips, toes are tucked. Lift the knees, send the hips back. Lift your hips up towards the ceiling, but try to maintain that length in the spine. We'll take 4 breaths here. Okay, if you want to have stillness, you can have some stillness. If you want to move around a bit, you could lift and lower the heels a couple of times. And then let's walk your feet towards your hands at the front of the mat. Just have a block near you, okay? And you'll lift up into a flat back. Okay, so crown of the head is reaching forward, hips are reaching back, and then fold forward. And then you'll take your time here, take a block with you. See if you can round your spine up 1 vertebrae at a time. Okay, the slower you go, the more you feel. So your head will arrive last. Okay, soften the knees a bit. You're gonna reach your block up. Try to grow nice and tall. Kind of try to unglue the rib cage from the pelvis. And then see if you can side bend to your right. Float through center, side bend to your left. Float through center, and then shift your weight into the balls of your feet. Lift your sternum up and then gently arc up and back. And maybe your block reaches behind your ears. Good. And then you're gonna shift your weight into the heels and reach your arms forward. Okay, so see if you can come into your chair pose. See if you can come somewhere sustainable that you can hold for a bit. And then depending on how your shoulders feel, you can do this with your arms lower to the ground, or you can do them a little bit higher up. And you're gonna start to circle your block in one direction. It doesn't matter because we'll go in both. Okay. And see if you can do 4 slow circles in each direction. Okay. If the arms up high is too much for your core and your shoulders, then you can always lower your block down. That's 4. Good. And then reach your block forward, sit a little further down. Shift your weight side to side. Okay. So you're shifting your weight into the left foot and then the right foot. We'll pause with the weight in the left foot, come onto your right big toe, and then see if you can lift your right foot up 1 inch. Take 3 breaths. Drop the right foot down, shift your weight into the right foot, come onto the left tiptoe. Lift the left foot, take 3 breaths. Plant your foot down, see if you can forward fold. Okay, let's grab opposite elbow behind the shins behind the calves or the knees, and then see if you can really kind of pull your torso on top of your thighs. Shake your head yes, shake your head no. No gripping or irritation in the neck. And then you'll plant your palms down right under your shoulders. Okay, you'll step back into your high plank. Okay, try to get your pelvis, your rib cage, and your head in a line. Let's take a couple of breaths. Okay, if you drive the balls of your feet into your mat, you'll feel your quads kick on. Sometimes it's helpful to bend the knees a little bit here, okay, but you can play around, be a bit adventurous, see what feels right in your body. And then with control, you could drop your knees down or leave them lifted. You're gonna lower yourself all the way down onto your belly, okay? And then reach your arms forward, bring your forehead down to your mat, bend the knees, and gently sway your legs side to side. So you're gonna glue the tops of your feet down to your mat, okay? And then take your arms out to 10 and 2 o'clock. Okay. Forehead will stay down, and then spin your palms so that the thumbs are facing the ceiling. Your anchor is the tops of the feet and your pubic bone here, and you'll lift your arms up and then control them back to the floor. Okay, see if you can do 5 or 6. And then you're gonna glue your palms down, push them down as hard as you can, and see if you can just lift your head, keep your gaze right down in front of you, and then lower the head. Let's do that 5 or 6 times. And then with your head up, you'll pause, lift your arms up, internally rotate your shoulders, and start to reach your palms back behind you. You can have a slight bend in the elbows and push your palms in towards each other. Good, we'll take 4 breaths here. Good, and then when you're ready to release, you'll externally rotate your shoulders, make a big shoulder circle all the way forward. Relax your upper body, bend your knees, and gently sway your legs side to side. If you want to get the head involved, you can kind of rock side to side on the head, and the eyes look underneath your armpits in the direction that your knees are going. Just kind of trains the brain for opposition. Then you're gonna bring your feet back down to your mat, bend your elbows, make a nice pillow for your forehead, push the tops of your feet down so that the kneecaps lift up, and then using your mid-back muscles here, okay, you're gonna lift your upper body, okay, so your head rests on the back of your hands, they're glued together as one unit, and then you can side bend to your left and side bend to your right. Awesome. And then let's bring just the arms down, keep the head up, and you're gonna turn your head, look over your left shoulder, try to see your left foot, and then look over your right shoulder, try to see your right foot. See if you can go pretty slow here, right? And just kind of notice which side feels a little bit more restricted and which side you have a little bit more range. Maybe yours are even. Good. And then see if you can take your gaze up, stretch out the front of the neck, and then tuck your chin towards your chest. Try to lengthen the back of the neck. Good. Then relax your upper body one more time. Okay, you're gonna extend your arms back out to 10 and 2 o'clock. Okay, so in this movement, your hips are gonna stay glued to the mat the whole time. Okay, but you lift your left arm, pick up your head, look at your left hand, and then it's like your arm is trying to roll you onto your back, right? But you stop before the hip lifts, and then you come right back onto your belly. Okay, and then we'll take it to the other side. So the arm lifts, the head follows. Okay, so it's a bit of an active twist here. Okay. But hips are staying glued to your mat. Okay, and here as well, you might notice that you go a little further on one side. Awesome. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders, float your palms 1 inch, bend your knees, flex your ankles, okay? So you can start with your head down actually, but palms are floating. And then you're gonna drop your feet halfway to your mat. Push your knees down so that your pelvis lifts up, okay? So your ribs are down, it's just your pelvis that's lifting, okay? And then what you wanna do is try to take the arch out of your low back. So you tuck your tailbone, okay? Palms are hovering 1 inch off your mat. Take a couple of breaths here. Okay, you really wanna try to not be arching your low back, right? So you wanna think posterior tilt, belly button to sternum. And then press your hands together behind you. Maybe feel a little bit of a tricep action. And then you're gonna slowly release. Butterfly stroke or shoulder circle the arms forward, relax the legs, and just kind of dance or shimmy those hips side to side in a feel-good way. Good, and then last thing we'll do here on our bellies, you're gonna bend your elbows, okay? So make another pillow for your forehead. You're gonna bend your knees again, and then everything between your head and your knees are gonna lift up off the mat, okay? So you're gonna lift everything between head and knees, your torso, right? Try not to have an arc in your low back. Try to tuck the tailbone. Okay, you might shake a bit, that's okay. Take a couple of breaths, a lot of core work, and relax down. Okay, and let's do one more of those, okay? So your knees are glued down, your head is glued to your hands. You lift your torso up and then tuck the tailbone. Good. You can lower down, okay? Tops of the feet connect to your mat, and we'll head towards a Sphinx pose, okay? So your elbows are gonna be right under your shoulders or 1 inch in front, okay? You can be on your forearms or come onto the pinky side edge, okay? And then they don't actually move, but see if you can drag your elbows kind of towards your hips here. Grow your heart through your hands. Take a couple of breaths. So from here, we'll transition into a forearm plank, okay? So again, you can stay on pinky side edge or be on your forearms. You'll tuck your toes. See if you can lift your hips and your knees up into your plank, okay? And then let's just kind of go right into a dynamic version of this. So see if you can kind of sway your weight side to side, shoulder to shoulder, right? And so you don't want to have your hips way down here. Up a little bit higher is going to be more optimal for getting your core working in a great way. And then let's start to walk the feet in towards the elbows, come in towards your dolphin. Okay, try to keep the knees bent for quite a bit of time, and then when you can't walk your feet in anymore, you'll start to push your torso towards your thighs and maybe start to straighten the knees a bit. Take a couple of breaths here. And then let's drop the knees down, sweep the hands back next to the feet, relax the forehead to your mat, and you can just kind of let your shoulder blades melt towards the floor. Let the belly be soft. See if you can reconnect to your natural breath. We'll take a few moments to pause. Just kind of notice how you're feeling, check in, take inventory. Maybe rock side to side. And then you can sweep your arms forward, roll the spine up, come into your tabletop. Okay. Then if you have a wall, the next part's gonna be a little bit on the wall. So see if you can kind of set up so that your feet are towards the wall. Okay. And you're gonna tuck your toes, lift your hips up into your down dog. Okay, then you're gonna start to walk your hands towards your feet and place your sits bones on the wall. Okay, so let your torso fully relax on top of your thighs. You can grab the calves behind you, maybe bicep curl your body on top of the thighs. And then using the wall kind of as feedback, see if you can start to roll your spine up one vertebrae at a time. Awesome. So you're gonna set up so that your hips are on the wall and your like shoulder blades are on the wall, but you have a little bit of an arch in your lower back, your lumbar spine, and you're a little bit of an arch in your cervical spine. Your head may or may not be on the wall, but don't force it to the wall. Okay. Keeping your shoulder blades fixated. See if you can start to reach your arms up. Okay. Your thumbs might tap the wall. They might not. Okay. All good either way. And then control the arms down. Okay. See if you can imagine lifting your rib cage up off of your pelvis as you reach your arms up. Good. So you can do a couple with the arms, fairly close together. Okay. And then see if you can do a couple with the arms out at like 10 and 2. Kind of notice how that might feel different. Awesome. And then you're going to connect your entire spine to the wall and start to walk your feet forward. Okay, so really try to get your low back, your mid back, and your upper back connected as best as you can. We're going to take the arms out and face the palms up. So we're going to supinate the forearms and then start to sit your hips down any amount that's comfortable for you. And I really like this position because you can feel your back ribs expand on your inhale, right? So we want to get a 360-degree diaphragmatic breath here. So you can kind of feel them press into the wall on your inhale and then kind of let your ribs sink down on your exhale. Okay. We're going to be here for a couple cycles of breath. So you can just kind of maintain this position. You can always glide up a bit if it gets to be too much. You can glide down a bit if you want a little more work. Okay, you can lift your heels up and come onto the balls of the feet. That'll get into the calves a little bit more. And then you can drop your heels down, slowly start to slide your spine up the wall, walk your feet in. Let's sweep the arms up to frame the ears. Okay, grow nice and tall, side bend over to your right. Keep a good amount of weight in your left foot. So your left foot is pushing down. And then side waist pulls you up and you side bend over to your left. Okay, now your right foot is glued down. And you slide up, walk your feet forward a bit, and then see if you can hinge at the hips. Okay, so your arms are reaching away from you, your butt stays on the wall, and then you come right back up to the wall. Okay, so we're gonna do 4 hip hinges here. Try to keep a flat low back. So if we needed to, we could balance a cup of water on your low back. On your 4th one, let's pause and then float your hands down to the floor, and we'll do a bit of a rotation, a twist in the spine. So take your feet a little wider, maybe hips or shoulder width apart. You're gonna bend into your right knee, connect your right elbow inside the knee, start to straighten your left leg. You're gonna rotate your rib cage to the left and reach the left arm up. Okay, to transition to the other side, you bend your left knee, connect your elbow inside the left knee, straighten your right leg, and reach the right arm up. Good. And then you're gonna bring that hand down, okay? See if you can start to walk your hands forward into your high plank. Okay. And then walk your feet in towards your hands. Come into a deep squat, okay? And then walk your feet back into your high plank. Good, and see if you can do that 2 more times. Okay. So feet walk in, right? Everyone's deep squat looks different. So however it looks in your body is just fine. Great. Come back into your deep squat and then rise on up to stand. Okay, so you're gonna grab your blanket now. Okay, if you're at home, you can use a towel on a wood floor or like paper plates on carpet. Okay, so you can get a little creative. You could also just wear socks on your wood floor. Okay, so you're gonna take your blanket under your right foot and you'll have your left foot on the floor, okay? Start with the hands in towards the heart. You're gonna start to slide your blanket away from you. Okay, actually let's reach the arms forward as the blanket goes back, yeah. Okay, and then push the ball of the foot into your blanket and glide back in, okay? So we're gonna do 6 of these kind of sliding lunges here. The more you push the ball of your right foot into your blanket, the more work you'll feel. Right, so the idea is to just move with control. Don't slide so far out that you can't get back in. Good, so after 6 to the back, right, so that was like going back to 6 o'clock, you're gonna go out now to 3 o'clock, okay? So your whole foot comes onto your blanket, you're gonna glide out to the side and then pull it back in, okay? So try to send your left hip straight back behind you. Slide the blanket back in and we'll do 6 out to the side. Whoops, should move back. Okay. And then we're gonna go to the front here. So you're gonna still bend into this left knee, okay? You let the blanket go in front of you to 12 o'clock and then come right back in. Okay. It's a little bit different, right? You can kind of think about sending your hips back. That can help. Awesome, and then you can shake out the legs and we'll do the other side, okay? So you can kind of situate your blanket any way that feels good to you, right? You're on your right foot now, your back heel is up. You're gonna glide your blanket or your towel away from you, reach your arms forward, push the ball of the foot down into the floor, drag your blanket back in. Okay. So I like to do this with my arms, but if you want to just keep them at your heart or maybe play with taking them out to a T, right? See what works in your body, what feels best. Awesome. Then we'll go out now, it'll be 9 o'clock. So your blanket slides away from you, you drag it back in. Okay. The more you push this left foot down, the more you'll get your inner thigh, your adductors to fire. Awesome. And then let's take it forward, okay? So you can keep the knee tracking out over the second and third toe and then pull your blanket in. Good. And just try to be mindful of these hips, right? We want to sit them right back to 6 o'clock, which can be kind of challenging. Awesome. And then shake out the legs. Okay, and let's grab your block one more time. and we'll come into a prayer squat. So your feet can be parallel or they can face out to 11 and 1. You'll take your block right in between your hands. Okay, I like mine 11 and 1, but see what feels good for you. You're gonna reach your hips back and your block out in front of you. Okay, so you wanna try to keep your chest up. Okay, you wanna try not to lean forward too much. Great, and then you're gonna inhale, reach your block up. Exhale, lower the block down. Good. Pause here. Okay, hold. And then see if you can start to come out of your squat and then come right back down into it. And we'll do 5 squats here. You can also play with changing your foot position. Okay. Good, and then you're gonna place your block down in front of you. Heel toe your feet maybe a little wider and come into a wide leg forward fold, Prasarita Padottanasana. Keeping your legs straight, see if you can just kind of shift your hips side to side. Sense how your hips and your inner thighs are feeling. Okay. You can keep your hands down on the floor. Okay, you might widen your feet apart a bit depending on your body, and then you're gonna just bend into your right knee and then bend into your left knee. Okay, so it doesn't have to be perfect or look any particular way. Right, you can bring your hands anywhere. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, you still have a good amount of energy, you can play with going side to side, no hands. Great, and then one more time, we'll forward fold. Walk your hands in between your feet this time. You can kind of traction or pull yourself down, and then just make sure you could shake the head yes, so the back of the neck is relaxed. And then let's heel toe the feet in, come through a squat and sit down on your mat. Awesome. So take a couple of seated cat-cows here. So bring your palms on top of your shins and see if you can inhale, pull your heels in towards your sits bones and sit up nice and tall. Try to create a bit of an arch in your low back, okay? And then exhale, round your spine, tuck your chin, kind of like angry cat on your butt, okay? So inhale, arch the back, exhale, round. Good, and then we'll pause, sitting up nice and tall. See if you can lean back about 15 degrees. Take your arms out to a V, okay? And then you can start to roll your spine down from here, or you could pick your feet up, okay? You could bring them to 90 degrees, or you could straighten them, okay? Take a couple of breaths, and then when you feel ready, let's tuck the chin, roll your spine down, one vertebrae at a time, relax your palms down next to you, and then gently sway the legs side to side. So start to wind down our practice. And so let's do 5 slow ankle circles in each direction. Right? Try to get into all of the angles that your ankle joint can move in. And then spread your 10 toes and squeeze your 10 toes. Right, they've been in your boots all winter. See if you can spread the toes. Good. And then start to just kind of scissor kick the legs here gently, kind of check in with those hips. Okay. And then see if you can play with just moving the hips in a bunch of different ways. So you can get creative here, right? We changed our relationship with gravity, so it can feel nice to kind of explore your hip joint. You can move the hips through internal and external rotation, right? You can draw circles. Good. And then just let your knees fall in towards your chest. So you don't have to, you can grab them if you want, if that feels good, but it's also kind of nice to let the upper body just totally relax. Take a couple of intentional breaths. See if you can fill up your rib cage 360 degrees. Good. And then you'll float your feet back down to your mat. Let's cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Pick up your left foot, interlace the hands behind the left thigh, and then gently rock side to side. And then take your arms out to a T. Let your legs go over to your left. You come into a bit of a twist. If you need to, you can take a block and place it underneath the legs or this foot, because you want both shoulder blades to be able to stay down. And then you decide which way you turn your head, right? It will be different depending on if you look left, right, or up at the ceiling. And then come through center. Let's unwind. Cross the left ankle over the right thigh. Pick up the foot. You can interlace the hands. And rock side to side. When you're ready, you can rock all the way onto your right side. The legs either come to the floor or a block, and then you can turn your head. I like to turn it the opposite way, but if that bothers your neck, you could just stay looking up at the ceiling or turn to the right. And then you'll come through center. And let's take the soles of the feet together, let the knees open. And maybe like you can rest your hands on your low belly if that would feel calming, or you can keep them out in a T, right? See what feels best for you. We'll take a few moments of stillness. Just let everything kind of settle and reset. See if you can find a state of equilibrium. And then slowly draw your knees in towards each other. Walk the feet out so they're mat width distance apart. Let the knees fall in. Okay, and sometimes it's nice to take opposite elbow behind your head here. Okay, or you could keep your hands down on your belly or out by your sides. Okay, and then you can take your arms back out to a T and gently windshield wiper the knees side to side. Checking in, noticing any sensations in the body. Right? Notice if there's any parts of the body that you could relax right now. And then settle into a final relaxation shape. So I definitely recommend taking some sort of Shavasana. You can bring a blanket on top of the belly. That can feel grounding, or set it up underneath your knees, right? Try to take a shape that feels 100% comfortable for you. And then see if you can take at least like 5 minutes to let your parasympathetic nervous system kind of take over, reset things, drop into your body. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this and have a great rest of your day.